And? To screw it up less next time, although we can't possibly screw it up as badly as the city is screwing this up.
And welcome to This Week in Worcester podcast. I am Tom Marino. I am the editor of This Week in Worcester. I'm here with Mr. John Keogh. He is a valued featured contributor to This Week in Worcester. He's also president of Hollywood Film Group and Hollywood. And the executive producer for Manager Media. Hey, John.
Hello, sir. All of our things into the chats, into the groups of across the web. Gotta make sure we get all the clicks. Gotta get the clicks.
Indeed, clicks. I wanted to open the show with something. A reference to last week that I think is extremely important that we all understand. So I made a reference to a television show, which was one of the greatest television shows of all time.
This is what you're doing?
It was called Deadwood. And some people didn't understand the reference, so I just wanted to share with folks.
In that way. Oh, don't tell me how to talk in my own fucking place.
Oh my goodness!
And that's how we opened the show this week. I had the sort of on the same subject. I had the pleasure, the distinct coffee with our future mayor, Mr. Fred Nathan, this week. It was a good conversation. I enjoyed it.
Wait a second. Are you actually did you just admit this in public that you went to coffee with Fred?
I mean, he's going to be our mayor. I met him. It's got to be nice.
Some of our watchers are going to be super jealous. I know.
I thought you were going to say they're going to be mad. I was like, we haven't talked to people.
No, they like you.
We have to talk to people.
They want themselves some Tom time. You know what I mean?
I don't think I'd be jealous of that. I got time with the future mayor. I didn't think it would be too jealous of me.
No. No one wants to see Fred.
I wanted to see Fred. That's why I went.
I see Fred all the time. So
you and I,
yes,
were at the Worcester courthouse this week, the district and superior courthouse. I forget what day.
Always a fun time to look at the millions of dollars spent locking up poor people. Yeah, that's great.
It is it is a good place for stories for sure. If I had more time, we got
a couple stories out of it this week. Whew.
We did, and maybe one on the horizon that we're not going to say anything about yet.
That's right. There might be more to come. We'll see. This.
I had the opportunity to have a word with. I think it's fair to say, at least locally, quite a well-known, maybe even famous attorney. So that was good.
That was it.
I should mention that too. Also, former city council candidate Bernard Iandoli stopped in as well, so I could talk to him. I had never met him before. Good conversation. Good times.
That's cool. Yeah, it was so obviously we were there to cover, multiple things at the same time. You and I were in different courtrooms.
Correct. We're not going to talk about what I was looking at.
Yeah, so the courtroom that I was in with, obviously we're there to cover Attell's case and Ashley's case, and it was very strange atmosphere. I know there's some specifics we can talk about a little bit more, but I just want to say that court is just a weird place, right?
It is.
It's just a weird place, and so got a bunch of people there that are there for various things. But in one particular case, and I'm not going to say the names of the person, but there was a guy who was in jail, and he was formerly in the Worcester House of Corrections, bailed himself out on $50,000 cash bail that his mom put up, and then got arrested in Norfolk County for a similar case. In the Worcester case, the charges were reduced. So his lawyer, who's not being paid until after the case is over, asked for them to reduce the bail and assign the bail. So basically, if they reduce the bail, then part of the money can go to the lawyer, so he's a private attorney, right? And this is like a big scam that is always running around in the thing. And in this case, the judge shut it down like right away, immediately, and it set the tone, because it's like, first of all, the lawyer was really disappointed because obviously he signed up for this case, which is a loser right off the bat. Because if the kid got arrested for drug distribution, if he got arrested for distribution in Worcester, and then got arrested for distribution in Norfolk County, and apparently had charges out of state for distribution, it's very unlikely that he's going to beat all of those charges in multiple jurisdictions. And because they're coming up in court already, that the state is trying to leverage some kind of plea deal out of the arrangement, right? And so it was just interesting to watch the body language of that lawyer when he got shot down. It was so interesting. And of course, the guy wasn't there, because now apparently they don't bring folks that are incarcerated in unless they absolutely have to. So everybody who is incarcerated is like coming in via Zoom, which is new. I'd never been to see that before. And so that was interesting for me to watch that. So the tone was just really, really, really strange. Really, really, really strange.
So Counselor Atel Hajia's attorney brought forward a motion to dismiss, as did Ashley's attorney as well, and the judge took them both under advisement. They scheduled a hearing for November 19th for both, which is after the election. Which I'm not sure. I'm not sure how that. I'm not sure if it matters, honestly.
I don't think it does. I don't think it's going to affect. I think that the folks that are dug in for Atel are motivated and energetic, and the folks that are dug in against her are very much the same. So they're just kind of in those two camps. I would say that the thought that I had about there's a chance that these charges still get dismissed. There's a chance, and the chance of that happening is probably like 10%. If the judge had ruled like in the hearing, then it's almost always no when they rule right then. When they take it under advisement, there's like in Massachusetts about a 10% chance of a motion to dismiss in this like initial thing happening, and they are in district court, not superior court. So there's a much higher version of that. And that 10% is made up of 90%, district court cases and 10% superior. It's very rare a superior court case gets dismissed at that stage in a case, but district court cases, it does happen. And I found the motions interesting. I also lament that not everybody gets the legal representation that Atel and Ashley got. I think they both got good attorneys that made compelling arguments. The biggest compelling argument in both of their factors was that the sworn officer who was at the magistrate's hearings admitted that the police reports in both cases were not accurate. So, like, just to say the very minimum, the police department admitted on the record that the police reports were not accurate. That's a fact. Now, that doesn't mean anything in district court, because there's this thing called the four corners. For those of you who don't know what that means, basically, its probable cause is determined solely by the police report. if the police report has any other, it doesn't matter if there's evidence. The police is basically taken at face value. So if the police says X, that's probable cause, and you have to go through the process. That's the way it works almost everywhere in the United States.
But yeah, and I mean, and that's common. I mean, that happens in civil court too. The one appealing, if somebody appeals, whatever it might be, the facts are viewed. The facts based on the other side on the complaint are viewed in the best possible light, is how they phrase it. Or best possible evidence, best possible light. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like assuming that the complaint in the lawsuit is true, and then judging the appeal based on that perspective. So that's not abnormal.
Yeah. So it's interesting because there's a tension between the legal status of the defendant, which is innocent until proven guilty, and the legal posture the court is required to take in probable cause. Right. So the judge is supposed to view it in the best possible light for the state, despite the fact that the person is presumed innocent. So it's a tension that's there because most people say, well, wait a second, we're presumed innocent. Well, technically, you're not really presumed innocent until you're in front of a jury. And then in front of a jury, the jury is instructed in certain ways by the judge, specifically with that in mind, that you're innocent until proven guilty, right? And then the facts. So what he did was in Ashley's case, they changed their theory, which was interesting. So they no longer are going to try to say that Ashley touched an officer. The assault charge is completely based on the water from the baby bottle. And so the lawyer for Ashley made a compelling argument, in that part of the exchange between the two, which was that, Your Honor, the water, no matter what you do, the video does not show Ashley take the bottle and whip it at the officer, because it doesn't. She's kind of to the side of him in that moment, and so he made the argument. And this is a lawyer doing a good job because he's establishing potential arguments for the case down later on. And what he's saying is there's a reasonable doubt that she intended for the water to get on the officer. She just had the baby bottle in her hand and the water came out. That's a really good lawyer doing his job. And so the judge accepted that motion. So now the interesting thing about court is that now that lawyer can build an argument around that in front of a jury later on down the line, or in front of the judge, depending on, motions and hearings and all kinds of stuff. But that's the theory now that the state and the defense agreed upon, which I again, it's just interesting to watch. I haven't, other than for one other situation that we covered, I haven't been in a courtroom for a while doing this kind of stuff. And, it was just interesting to view the tone of that DA. He was not aggressive. He did not want to be there, which he was very clear about in his quote to me afterwards. I didn't get to interview him a little bit in the hallway afterwards. He wasn't like adamant about anything. He was very soft spoken, and so just the posture in the room. Which, of course, there was one person there who was I would say most of the tension was revolving around, but it was not any of the lawyers. It was the patrolmen's union leader, Thomas Duffy, who was in the front row and visibly reacting to everything, which we didn't write in the story. And the reason I didn't write it in the story, because one, it was covered by other people in the city. So Bill Shaner wrote up a thing about him and how he was squirming around in the seat. And Tom and I are really trying to establish the facts and the patterns of what we're watching live, and not trying my best not to like make judgment calls. But now we're on the show, and so on the show I can say I watched him squirm around. At one point, Ashley actually sat next to him, and she didn't realize that she was sitting next to him, but he did. And he like leaned forward and like leaned away from her like a little kid. It was so ridiculous. And I was like, what is he doing? Like, why is he doing that stuff? And of course, he's trying to whisper to the DA. And then, so then that's what we wrote.
Let's dial in there though. It was interesting because the courtroom was not open to the public. Lawyers and court staff and whatnot can go into the courtroom prior to, but even if you're scheduled to be at court that day, you wait outside,
Yeah.
On a bench, so the media can see you there primarily, right? So you're doing the walk of shame essentially, and
which is us, we were there to cover it. We were there,
right? No doubt. But this individual just walks in the courtroom like he's a court official or something.
Right.
He can do whatever he wants. That's been proven, and confers with the DA and did so again after the hearing. The police department. We asked the police department about this, and they said, he represents the individual involved in the case. Not in a legal sense, though. He represents that individual for collective bargaining, for anything related to their employment. If they're in court relative to something discipline related from the job, that'd be one thing. But he's not a party to this case, and his status as a union official means nothing in court.
No, it has nothing to do with it. Yeah. But
why anyone who's not party to the case would be conferring with the DA is beyond me, unless you were hoping to impact the case, because really this is to some degree, in part at least, a political play. It is what it is. This is about the election.
And I do think it was interesting that I don't know that the DA, the DA in this case, Stephen Gagne, I think it's Gagne, intended for that to happen or for me to see it, right? So maybe they. I don't think they meant. The only reason that, by the way, I went in the little. I was able to see the first conversation because I saw Duffy go in the courtroom and I went in, and I wasn't supposed to be in there either. And
you were in between the doors.
I was in the vestibule, in between the doors, and then I observed it, and then I was able to recount that to multiple people, including you outside. Hey, he's in there talking to the DA. So I saw it. I saw it clear as day, personally with my own eyes, and then came out, and then he sat in the courtroom before everybody else went in. So he was sitting there in the front row for however long. Before we all got let in, then we let in, and I observed him, just like I said, he was sitting there very engaged with the case and all that different stuff. And then again when we left, it was like 25 people were all in there for that case. So the courtroom cleared out real quick. But then the interesting thing is that I was holding the door for several people, and actually Duffy went out while I was holding the door. So I held the door for the guy as he was going through the thing. And then, we were engaging out in the thing, and I thought it made sense for me to ask him for a quote, even despite the way that he feels about me. And he's expressed a lot of negative, feelings about me and the work that I do with Tom and with Manny over the years. So potentially a dangerous situation for me, but I still went over there because I think that I don't know that there's I just don't think other people want to, and I might as well be the one. So I walked over there. I asked him for a quote. I asked him two questions, which was, are you on duty? And would you like to talk about the nature of your conversation with the DA? And he just said, no. That was it. That was the entire thing. Then I tried to take a picture of him. And I got in a little trouble with the court officers for taking a picture. Apparently, you're not allowed to take a picture in the hallway. Although I went and looked up the case, and it is weird because there's some people who have won that, right? So, different people have won that have had pending cases, being able to take pictures of who's out in the hallway. But there's a lot of stuff there. So anyways, I deleted the picture. Or at least I put it in my trash can, and and then I waited for Stephen Gagne to ask him, and I talked to him, and you see if you go look to thisweekinworcester.com and look up the article, which is the judge hears the motions to dismiss article. It's at the bottom. I spoke with him, probably for about 5 minutes. Sam from WGBH was recording it. So, there might be audio of my conversation with him. But it was just a general conversation. He was very nice. And, I asked him that, and I did like his answer when he said, it doesn't matter what happens, who I make mad or who I don't make mad. It doesn't matter if the defendants are mad or the WPD is mad. I go back to work in Northampton either way. Which I thought was a pretty good quote, right? That was a pretty good quote. We put that in the story. So, I mean, it was very weird to me. To me, it's just a really bad look. The look is he doesn't care. He doesn't care.
No. Look, why would you, when you commit a felony and you're not even investigating internally at the police department, never mind investigating for the felony you committed, why would you think that anything's going to happen to you over something, over a little ethics violation?
Yeah, and not just the ethics, but to me, it's just it's the optics thing. Is this tone of aggressiveness? Like, I don't care, I'm going to do what I want, and that again, it's celebrated almost, by the city and by the police department. So it's just really strange. But again, I think it adds up. He's not that big and bad and scary. He's just a dude who doesn't care about anybody else's opinion, and basically he's like, screw you. He's a bully. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, I mean, and not caring about anybody else's opinion, that's fine. It's the people around him that give him pass on his aggressive, he has more resident complaints than a higher rate of resident complaints than Derek Chauvin did. Outright committed a felony on Water Street in 2016. That got a pass for that. So again, some little ethical stuff. Nobody's going to take any issue with that. He's the silver spoon. You got to get the silver spoon. He gets to do whatever he wants.
Yeah, I agree.
Nobody intervenes. Nobody says anything.
Yeah, they don't. And so, I mean, that's really why I felt to write the story and to ask the question, because it seems like I know the mainstream, the legacy media didn't cover it.
No.
So, which is interesting because the Telegram and Gazette did a ton of work on that case back in 2016, but they're not going to cover it now. And so I find that to be interesting element that they left out. And I hope the people that watch our show and that listen to us later on, because I know we get a ton of people who go back and watch it later, that you think about that when you're reading legacy media outlets who don't cover the whole story. They only gave you part. If you look at the TNG story, fact is they left that part out. They didn't even look for that part. They were gone. They had left at that point already. So it's something you should think about when you're making your choices on who to read or who not to read. And I'm not saying not to read them, but I'm also saying you should take a fuller picture of the coverage of stories. When you're trying to make a decision, and if it affects your, how you're going to vote, I would say that, you should take into account that it seems like a lot of people are lining up against one person. A lot of organizations, a lot of individuals.
Yeah. So that was that. As you said, the percentage of motions like this that get approved and ending the case is pretty low, but we'll see.
So I think it's 10%, but it might be like 9.7 or 11.2. It's very
close enough. Yeah. Getting ready for the show today, I went onto the City of Worcester website and went to the City Council agenda. And how is it getting worse? Explain it to me. Explain it to me, God. Please explain it to me. I go to the agenda, and there's three different options, right? There's download the agenda, then there's like download HTM, and then there's download the whole package. The whole package is 900 and some pages. I don't need that. 929, I think it was.
I downloaded the whole packet.
I downloaded, and then so we'll get there though. So I download the regular agenda, and there's no links to anything, no documents. So then I download the HTM agenda, and there's some links to some documents, but not all.
Not all. And
then I download the full packet of 900 and some pages, and because we're going to talk about ShotSpotter tonight, because there's some orders on the agenda, and there's excluding about the history of the cost of this thing and there's no document with the actual numbers.
Right. There's not.
How is it getting worse?
It is. It is. I mean, so
I don't need to scroll through. I don't need to download 900 pages to scroll through a bunch of stuff that you're going to approve on voice vote and not even ask questions about. I'm looking for this thing, and back in the antiquated system, and at the beginning of the start of this system, you just went to the agenda. There was a link. You clicked on it. You could read the document you want. Now it's how does it get worse?
yeah. So I mean, okay, a couple. I mean, there's a couple reasons I think that are related to it. I think one thing is that several of the orders are already on the agenda, haven't actually been voted on in committee yet. So, but it is a
Right. Because that's coming out of the public safety committee. Except there's no link in the public safety committee agenda either. So where are these documents?
which is very common with the Public Safety Committee that they're missing documents. It's been like that for about 10 years. And so it's very often that the reports are not there, or that they're brought on at the last second, or, it's very, very common with that committee, and it has been that way for a decade. You can draw whatever conclusions you want from that statement. The thing is that it's not illegal, but it's not legal either that the mayor lets the committee chairman place orders onto the agenda before they're voted on in the committee. It's just practice. That's how they've done it for as long as I remember.
Wait, though. Hold on.
Go ahead.
So as Council Toomey was sure to tell me, orders come before the council.
That's correct.
The only way, this is the dumbest thing humanly possible, but the only way a subcommittee can take up anything is because it's forward from the full council.
That's correct.
Which is moronic, but nonetheless, that's how it is. And then that subcommittee then has to take some action. They can put it on their pending list, and it can sit there forever, as some committees do. Public safety generally doesn't do that, to their credit. And then they take some action, and they send it back with a recommendation. The mayor calls this a report, but there's no report because they don't write reports. That would be providing information, and we want to keep as low information voters in the city of Worcester as humanly possible. But so they're placing things on the agenda for a meeting that happens after, because everybody's so eager to come to work that the only day that they have a public safety committee is right before the city council agenda, because everybody comes to work so much.
Yeah.
And then they haven't taken the action yet in the subcommittee. Like
they haven't. Not yet.
I mean, I understand that our committees are structured so like the chairperson is dictator, which again is moronic, but that's how we do things in Worcester. But what about Councilor Bergman and Councilor Ojeda? They still have to vote, and it's just like their votes are irrelevant. We're just sending that back to committee. It is so Mickey Mouse.
It is, and it also it's this is again there's and I've said this at the Public Safety Committee meeting several times, so have you.
I usually talk about 20 seconds and then she starts interrupting me.
Right, that's true. But what I mean is that we've both brought up the fact that it's kind of a rubber stamp committee, that it just goes to whatever her kind of predetermined situation is. And so in this case, we actually have city council meetings that they've already told us what are going to happen with these different items, right? Because Mo has made several public statements related to the ShotSpotter stuff, and Kate has
we're gonna get to that.
Her statements on the ShotSpotter stuff, and then Louis Ojeda has expressed that he doesn't completely understand it, right? Which is very honest for a city councilor. Who does? Nobody really does. And if you go back, I think it was in the end of May, if I remember exactly, that the ShotSpotter contract came up when Councilor King asked for a report about any statistics that showed whether ShotSpotter didn't work. Right, that was a report, and then if I remember, it was either motion to file or whatever. But eventually the city council got rid of it. The standing majority voted against Councilor King's motion. Okay, I think he held it himself one time. I'm sorry, Tom. And then they brought it if I remember all that.
So let's talk about shot.
That they won't bring any anti-ShotSpotter information is what I'm saying. They've already made that determination.
Absolutely. It's kind of like the DOJ report. We're still waiting for that report. The dead DOJ report, because that thing's dead. So on ShotSpotter, here's the deal with ShotSpotter. Okay, I've done some work with this. Okay, if you look at it in a pure metrics way, the number of alerts that officers respond to, right? Because not all, there's a whole process that goes into determining if what's being heard is actually a gunshot before it even gets to the police department, right? So when the thing alerts and an officer is deployed, and it's a very low percentage that there is a culprit of a crime or evidence of a crime that is collected. It's a very low percentage. Now, there's a million reasons for that. For example, if you get a ShotSpotter alert and it's a side street with no light and it's night, it's very difficult to find shells, for example, gun shells, right, from expanded ammunition. Very difficult. So there's just one reason that the number is pretty low. The other reason is pretty obvious. When people fire guns in a city, they don't tend to stick around and wait for the cops to show up. They leave, right? So if you look at it as purely number of alerts versus, either evidence found or arrests made, if you just look at that metric alone, it looks like this thing is pointless. We're just having police officers run around to these alerts and they never find anything. And the difficult thing about this system is that it is a lot of its benefits are intangibles. What it is, there's a lot of dispute about how accurate it is and how often it's accurate and all that. What it is quite good at doing is determining the location on which said sound that they believe is a gunshot happened. Okay, it's very good at that. To a very close degree, it can tell you where it happened. And it is far more effective than a witness who just hears it. If you see the gunfire happen, that's one thing, you know where it is, right? But if you're just at home and you hear gunshots, that can be, depending on a whole bunch of different factors, right? Auditory factors, you can be quite a distance away and not really know what direction it came from, just because the sound's bouncing off stuff and whatever. And so it is very good at that. So if there is a gunshot and there's someone injured, police are going to respond very close to the area where the sound was made. But the problem is, how do you quantify its veracity as a tool? What's the metric you use? And it's very difficult to get there. So when I did my story on this, I think it was 23, maybe it was 22. I did the same thing. I took the stats. Okay, stats are bad. This thing's junk. And I was just like wrapping up my story, and I reached out to the PR person at the police department, and I got put in touch with, as you'd imagine at the time, one Deputy Chief Baltasier. And he turned me around on it to some degree. As soon as I started talking about stats, he went, well, this, and this. And I went, oh, this was so simple, and now it's not. And so he invited me in, and I went to the real-time crime office they have. Everybody was very nice. It was cool. He was cool. It was good. Learned some stuff. It was great. One thing that he did show me was, in response to a ShotSpotter alert, they dialed up, something that already happened. It didn't happen while I was there. But in response to a ShotSpotter alert, they dialed up a street camera. They were able to have video of showed me the video. It was a group of what seemed like young people walking down the street. One pulls out a gun, fires a shot in the air, hands the gun to a friend, and they all scatter. One of the other people there, and they all scatter. Then Deputy Chief, now Chief Saucier, told me that, based on one of the descriptions, they got to one of them, ended up getting to the person with the gun, took an illegal gun off the street. And he's like, how do I put that in my stats? And I said, I don't know, but you need to figure out a way. Because otherwise, I don't know, like the discussion about this isn't very long. It is the basic metrics are trash, throw it away, right? So I'm a little hesitant to be full scale, throw the thing away, because he did make an impression on me that there are intangibles here that can be important, can be life-saving, et cetera, et cetera. But, it's a thing that we spend a lot of money on, and you need to be able to evaluate it. And the lack of ability to evaluate it is a huge problem, because I don't think that we should. I don't know what it's going to be. I assume it's a 4-year contract, probably like $3.25 million based on past pricing. I'm not sure. It could be more than that. So it's a little under $1 million a year usually that you spend on this thing, and that's not insignificant. And if you can't evaluate it because you don't know the metric to evaluate with, that's a real problem. I don't think we should be spending money because.
Yeah. So there's a couple. Well, I mean, I want to respond to the story, the anecdote that he's told, which he's also told me that anecdote. And my response to that anecdote remains the two kids, the kid that they got originally, they charged, and the other kid they charged. And both of those kids then entered into the system. They were both young men. They entered into the system. There's a societal cost for that. Now, you can tell me that because he shot the gun into the sky, he's a danger. He needs to be put in jail. Maybe. I don't know that. I don't know that because I think the evaluation of an individual, whether they go to jail or not, is less valued in my eyes by the police kind of pro-police folks. We need all the equipment. We need satellites, and we need
unlimited spending, unlimited money for the police department.
Money. They don't evaluate the cost of what happens when the kid makes the mistake. So we have people right in the chat.
But hold on, time out though. It's not that I don't disagree. That I disagree. I don't. There is a societal cost of putting people in prison, especially mass incarceration. That's for the system, the judicial system, to figure out. The police department's there to go get guns on the street and make arrests. So I'm not sure that is really in their area where, that I don't think that's really their job. Their job is to enforce the law, right?
I don't know.
So,
what I'm saying is I think that there's a broader conversation that needs to be had. What is the goal? What is the goal? And so to me, and we've had this conversation on this show before. My question is, where do the guns come from? Because kid A, who shot the gun into the sky and handed it to kid B, who then tucked it into his pocket, and then it ran away. Where did the group of 5 kids get the gun from in the first place? How did it end up in their hands? And it was an illegal. I'm not saying it's not an illegal gun, and I'm not saying it's bad to take it off the street. None of those things are what I'm saying. What I am saying is the focus seems to be that we need to equip the police with all the tools. What their focus is, not my focus, but what the focus seems to be is we need to give the police all the tools they can have to catch as many bad guys as possible and lock up all the bad guys and eliminate the guns from the streets. And to me, that's the wrong focus for our society. And there is enormous amount of data now, 50 years of data, that mass incarceration has been an abject and utter failure in every single way. And this is just one element, ShotSpotter technology, one element feeding people into the mass incarceration system, which has failed. It's just a failure. And you can see it happening in real time right now with the militarization of the ICE department and the rapid scaling of what they've done when they've started adding officers.
Yeah.
So the reason I'm saying this is because training is always subjective, but training is always a failure, a defect, as Paul likes to say in public a lot of time, when it's sped up in a long period of time, right? So as they're adding people really fast, you're starting to see it play out in real time, officers making terrible, terrible mistakes. And some of those mistakes will lead to people being harmed. So I'm a training person. I believe in training and education, and that's how you deal with whether it's an officer or a young person that's subject to these things. But my question is, I don't know that ShotSpotter or the conversation around it even addresses these things.
I don't think it should, look, I'm in the school of thought that we should ask the police to do one thing, that is catch criminals and investigate crimes. That's it. We should not ask them to be social workers and all the million other things that we ask them to do. It's part of why we have the problems that we have. We put them in situations that they shouldn't be in, because they're there to investigate crimes and catch criminals. That's it. And so, I think that is more a broader judicial system conversation about what we do with folks that have committed these crimes.
And I think that's where you and I, in thought, not necessarily in intention, but in thought, we diverge. Because I don't use the word criminals for those kids. And so that is what this catch-all for, and I'm not saying you're doing anything wrong. I'm saying that word has all this power attached to it that allows you to paint things with a broad brush. And you're like, all right, this person's a criminal. And but criminal is also apparently now civil violations. And so there's this huge catch-all that it's being used for that doesn't necessarily deal with the person. And to me, the fundamental problem with our society is we view things through data only, statistical things. And I want to view things through individual people and how that happened. And so I understand that there's no way this can be solved at the public safety meeting on Tuesday.
Don't solve anything.
I get that, right? But I do want to say that I think it's time that we held our public safety personnel and officials to a higher standard of explanation. And I just don't think that other than us, I don't even want to use the word offender, Sean, because that's another thing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why we're into this like semantics argument. People that commit crimes, I want them to go catch people that commit crimes. I don't want them to worry about what the penalty they're going to face is. I don't want them to be social workers. I want them to catch people that committed crimes based on evidence.
Yeah, but they don't, and that's where so ShotSpotter is really good at telling them where a sound happened. Your camera is winking out. No, that's my job to let you know. The ShotSpotter is telling you where a sound happened, and it helps the police get there pretty quickly. It doesn't lead to a volume of arrests.
No,
and they don't even make that argument. What they are saying that every gun off their argument is any gun off the street is worth X. That's how their approach is. And I get that is a compelling argument for some people. What I'm saying is the cost benefit analysis is not being done at all. What they're saying is we need this tool because other people have this tool, so we have to have the same tools that all the other people have because that's the way it is. And that's just the nature of the police state kind of operations. And what I'm saying is I don't agree. I don't agree because I don't know that you use it right. And what I will say this is that the vast majority of crime, right? So people who violate the rules that our society have set up is not ever prosecuted, ever. It's not arrested. It's not identified. It's not even told about. And we can get into why that is. Depends on which category of crime. But they don't catch criminals. They catch low-hanging fruit.
Well, again, that has nothing to do with the veracity of the tool.
Yeah, but so the thing is that the tool gets put in place and we spend all the money on the tool and we build all these arguments around the tool and we get the tool supported. But what we don't want to talk about is the fact that the reason that the tool is needed is because they planted the trees in the specific area on purpose to make it so that the fruit would hang low, that they could use the tool to catch it with.
I mean, maybe, but they also put it, I mean, there's obviously an extraordinarily large cost involved. And they put the sound detectors where the preponderance of the gun crime happens, or at least the what am I looking for where shots are fired in the city, and why is it those areas that this happens in? Well, I mean, there's a whole host of reasons. Redlining, and a long history of discrimination, including economic discrimination. That's a much broader topic. I agree. They put it where the gun crime is. That happens in areas where there is a lower economic level. And why do a lot of the people look the same in those areas at a lower economic level? Well, there's a whole host of reasons that go back 100, 200 years. I agree with that. But I don't want them to deploy it all over the city because I don't want to pay $5 million for this thing. And but is it worth the money that it comes back to the point of, is it worth the money that they're spending on it? And my answer is, I don't know, because we don't have an effective way to evaluate it.
Yeah, there's no way let's say it took, and I think if I remember correctly, I think last year it was like 71 guns that they got out of this project, right, out of this process, and the kind of standard way, and the least way Mayor Petty used it in various statements that he made in support of this, is that 71 potential murders prevented, which is
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
It's not just ridiculous. It's based in racism, because what it is saying that a black kid with a gun will kill somebody if he keeps the gun, is what they're saying. That's 100% what they're saying. And
I think he's saying that. I think he's saying that that guns automatically lead to death. So I don't know that's true.
They don't, but what he's trying to, and he's not. I don't know that Joe Petty is saying what I just said. What I'm saying is that he paints it really nicely. It's really pretty, but it's based in language that's existed for centuries at this point, saying this group of people are going to do bad things, and we need to make sure that we're always monitoring them at a different level, because look, we have proof that they did bad things. Just look back 20 years. We have proof, we have evidence, we have records, we have years of, and all ShotSpotter has done is sped that process up, because the data is faster than the old form of data, which was based on police officers policing certain areas, writing police reports. So even though Paul Saucier can say, and when he says this, he's saying the truth, Tom. He's saying we deploy officers based on the data. That is true. Mm-hmm. But the data was originally superimposed by bias, no matter what they say. And so that's what we're dealing with. And then,
but we're talking about two different, that's really deployment, though. We're talking about the other thing.
No, when I hear you, and I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm saying that I believe whenever ShotSpotter comes up, this conversation should be had, and that's because the leaders of community groups here in the city of Worcester, Black and Brown in particular, have told me they never let us talk about this. They just say we have to get a tool, and you need to go to a different forum to talk about this. And so I am not.
The forum that doesn't exist.
I'm the white dude with a red beard. And so at least I can say that I consistently bring up the fact that this thing is rooted in bias, no matter what. And so that's the whole reason I'm talking. I'm not saying you're doing that, or even that Paul Saucier is doing that. I'm not saying that. I am saying, though, the original founding data is incoherent at best. And Kate Toomey and the Public Safety Committee, they're never going to have this conversation unless you and I do and talk about it.
Right, and then she'll start yelling at me 20 seconds in.
And to be honest, and the people who call in and like talk about every item and write prepared things, they're not helping either. Because now, if I did want to try to engage a city councilor in this conversation, I can't, because the person has spoken for 30 minutes of the only hour that Tom and I and other people that go to the hearing now have to talk. And so there's just no real forum for this conversation other than amongst this stuff. Yes, it is, Fred. It is.
And well, I mean, the thing isn't racist. How it's deployed. Look, ShotSpotter didn't cause the bias. All right,
no.
The bias is 100 years old.
It's a tool in response to it. That's it. That's all.
Right. So, I mean, again, the root issue here is, and nobody is even like suggesting a way that we evaluate this thing.
No.
What was said in the previous when Councilor King brought his motion up, during that conversation, a councilor said, well, the residents that I talk to tell me that ShotSpotter makes them feel better. I don't care how they feel for $1 million a year.
So now that's an interesting thing, because I have been working on this. So I'm hopefully tomorrow I can load up some data, but I have been asking and polling people in person, and I did a couple of online polls to kind of come with the data. My goal is to get to 1,000 voters in the city of Worcester and ask them that question. Tom and I don't have the resources to hire a polling agency, so we're trying to get to the point where This Week in Worcester has polling apparatus. This first one, though, that I'm trying to do is literally John on the street asking questions whenever I can. And the question is, do you agree with Councilor Bergman's statement that that it makes you feel safer? Does ShotSpotter make you feel safer? That's it. That's the entirety of the poll. And I'm trying to see. And so far, overwhelmingly, the answer is no.
Well, I mean, even if it is true, so I have some things that would make me feel better. I would feel better if we had a city where, the long-standing American tradition of petitioning your government for redress was actually allowed. I would feel better in a city that when the city council passes an order unanimously that nobody else asked for, nobody's asking for this. But when it passes an order unanimously, that's going to have 5 meetings on a certain report that's now dead because everything's perfect over there. That they actually do it. I would feel better for a lot of things. Feel better. I don't give a shit how they feel. Does the thing work? How are you measuring that? I would feel better if people that voted for the corporate welfare project that is Polo Park, didn't say stupid things like, we can't do anything about people in Lincoln Plaza can't get food because the city manager can't put a butcher's uniform on. Where's his ticket taking uniform? Where's his concession stand uniform?
Yeah.
I would feel better if we had city councilors that said serious things.
Why is he charging me $8 for a slice of pizza at the Wonder Bar inside of Polo Park? City manager, you get no tip.
But we can be in the entertainment business all we want. Entertainment business is fine.
Although in the last game I went to,
but those people that they don't care about and that don't have any money, they can't get food. Maybe we can give away more tax money to some big company and they'll solve it for us.
Yeah, I mean,
Neolib brain rot. Neolib brain rot.
Yeah, the thing is they want us to believe the thing that's happening isn't happening, but the fact is that I just went to the store the other day, and 2 pounds of hamburger is like $11, and it's like that is unbelievable. Like the price.
I mean, that's above their pay grade. But
I understand that, but so then when there's a solution, or not even a solution, an idea, just an idea. Can we look at this idea?
Can we have a report on this idea?
We just have a report. They immediately up in arms, and it's like, wow, the response is amazing. It's so fast. It's so rapid. It's universal from the majority on the council that it's like
markets are God. Markets are God. God will solve it.
Yeah. But the funny thing is when you go back and listen to that meeting, they all say the same thing, and then at the same time don't understand their own contradictions. So they say, the counselor didn't give us enough time to think about this. We need to have a longer conversation. That was all of them said that, and then yet they voted that night to get rid of it. So they
voted top. Yeah.
Any interest in actually having an actual conversation. So then when you ask them that in person, and they're like, "That's not a contradiction. That's not a contradiction." No.
We need to learn more, but we don't want to talk about this.
Okay.
We should really learn more about this, but we're not going to. What was the statement was.
We want to criticize the counselor who brought it up for not giving us time, but and then of course the counselor said in multiple statements, and to me that he did email it to them, so they had notice of this thing, or through whatever process it is that they have to go through, which apparently you can't email it to a staff member. We know that for sure, because you're gonna get in trouble from the attorney. You're gonna get referred to the attorney general if you email something to a staff person. We know that over there. They're very quick to nail you down.
And if you're if you're Trump, who happens to be registered as a Democrat in Worcester, that's the worst crime ever committed, of course. Not lies after lies after lies after lies. Yeah, that's all fine. I
maintain my unenrolled status on purpose.
Yeah. Why would you want to be a member of either one of those parties? It's weird to me. So this conversation about ShotSpotter will be far more substantive rather than the conversation that will happen on Tuesday. That will be a dumpster fire.
Okay.
And there will be no discussion about how do we measure the efficacy of this. Council King will say that, and then they'll ignore them, and then they'll just say, okay. And apparently, we as the public don't get to see the report of how much this thing has actually cost us because somehow the city council agenda is getting worse.
And I think
Sean, access to the public.
I think Sean asked it in the chat. Resource router, which is the other part of ShotSpotter, which is the integration between the ShotSpotter and it's a data program, so it like integrates another level.
So I don't know how heavily it relies on ShotSpotter data, but it relies on the city's crime data, historical crime data, and then tries to make through some algorithm tries to make assumptions or predictions on when and where there should be a focus on patrols being present. I don't necessarily have a problem with it. It's what the data is going in. If it's our data and it's real crime data that the city's accumulated, if it's I'm sure that's skewed in a million different ways for a million different reasons. I don't necessarily have a problem with that. I mean, if we're using stock crime data from elsewhere, that's where it starts to get weird to me. If it does use that, but it uses it at a very low level, it's the weighting is far heavier on our own crime data. It is a weird, like, quote unquote predictive policing, but I mean, you're using your own data to try and make assumptions about potential future events. I have a hard time having problem with it.
Well, specifically because if you're using prior data to predict where crime is going to occur or patrols need to happen, then what you're saying is the efforts to clean up those neighborhoods is never going to work, right? So like if you do have whatever investments in certain areas, is that data going to change live, or are you going to continue to use that? So there's a lot of questions about that. I can tell you this, that I do see, or I guess I notice it more as we've been doing the show, and I pay attention to where the officers are staged. So you can drive around the city at night and you can see areas where the officers park as like a loading zone to where they're going to do their routes, and then they go back, right? And so, like, for example, my office is near Elm Park. Elm Park's right over here, the Greek Orthodox Church. There's a big parking lot next to the Greek Orthodox Church that's attached to the St. Spiridon Orthodox Center. And the officers park in there. And there's usually one parked this way and one parked that way, and they're parked next to each other. And then when one goes on patrol, they go out onto Russell Street. And when the other goes on patrol, they go out onto, I think that's Oak Street, right? So then they go that way, and so then they both go in different directions, right? So and then they do their patrols, and I've seen this because I walk around Elm Park, so I've seen them come back and forth. They come back from different directions, so they go out one and come on another, and then they end up back. And then the car that went on the first run is now in a different position, and then they rotate like that. So it's usually 2-car groups that do that. In some areas of the city, there's 3 and 4-car groups, and you can imagine how it like grows as far as routing and driving and blah 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 blah. I don't know, Tom. I don't know if that has a value or not. No one knows, because that data is not really publicly available 100%. Like so. Yeah. Now, Paul,
certainly was not available as the algorithm they're using to evaluate it, right? So you don't know how it's being weighted. I mean, I think the chief, if I remember correctly, the chief said that they're getting these basically an area. The program puts out an area, and those are the areas that patrols in those areas are walking in those areas at the time specified. I mean, I think it's generally a decent idea. I don't know. Good.
Oh, he just said, the youth center. There's definitely still cops there at the youth center. They're parked there across from the stadium all the time. I was going to say what you just said about the walking. So, like, if I was any level of a good criminal, like an actual criminal, I would pay attention to that. And then see, like, all these cops only walk at 4:30 to get the black kids. So I'm going to do my crime in a different area of the city, away from wherever they, figure out those raids. And I'm just going to keep it at a statistically low enough level so that they can't, that it won't change their patterns.
I don't think that anyone commits crime based on that analysis.
I will disagree with you immediately because I do know several people from my old version of life, and they definitively use data now to make their decision making. And so criminals are always the good ones, the ones who get away with it, always ahead of the government when it comes to using data or using technology. So they're feeding whatever crime they're trying to stop. There's other crime that's being fed in the opposite direction.
Before we go on to the
guys come on the show.
before we go on to the cable TV stuff, I want to address something here that's been going on in the chat for a bit. Oh no, that's not what I wanted. It moved on me. Somebody typed something and it moved. I had it all docked up and everything. I was all being pro. And now I lost it. It's gone forever. Oh, here it is. Future Mayor Fred Nathan says this. Let's just rub it, and I'll make it brief because I don't want to go on a whole tangent here. Yeah, that's all well and good. That's a nice way to not look at all the facts. If you want to get to that conclusion by not looking at all the facts, you've done a good job. Here's the real reality: is in 1986, under President Reagan, a Republican, there was amnesty, and then the Reagan administration did absolutely nothing to stem the flow of undocumented people over the border. And that continued through the W. Bush administration, through the Clinton administration, through the H.W. Clinton, and then the W. Bush administration, and through Obama, and largely in the first Trump term, Biden, and here we are in the second Trump term. Because he said he does things doesn't mean that he did them. It largely didn't change. There was the fear factor, because they were ripping kids out of families' arms and then losing them. That probably stemmed the flow a little bit, but intimidation. I mean, I guess if you want to be a gangster. So that is presidents and Congresses of both parties over 4 decades almost, that didn't do anything about the people walking through the open door. And now 40 years later, you want to go round and re-up like the Gestapo. That is punching down. If there's never been a better description of punching down.
Yes, I agree with
than that. And then you add on top of that, if you know anything about the history of American intervention in South America, specifically the Northern Triangle countries, which have I believe still the highest percentage of people coming over the border. That's El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras. The United States, through its very, very brilliant foreign policy, has turned all 3 of those countries over twice.
Yes.
Since 1900. Yeah. It's been basically a feeding frenzy for corporate interests in those countries. And those corporate interests, I think it was Honduras, I may have this wrong, I think it was Honduras. At one point, the American Fruit Company owned all the ports.
Yeah. 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 I mean, these are all
this is so that what you had, not El Salvador, it was I think it was one of those countries, I forget, I get them mixed up. One of those countries, the United States decided it didn't like who the people had elected, because we believe in democracy, just like the city council. And so we turned that over, and that launched that country into a civil war for 40 years.
Yeah, El Salvador, right? 38 years.
Totally,
right?
Yeah, I think it was. Totally dysfunctional, failed state.
Yeah.
It has begun anew, and to date, it still has not been a actual unified country again for as long as it was at civil war. It's only been 20-some years.
And then the guy
20-some years is not enough time for a state to get its stuff together. So the root problem is in large part our own creation.
Yes.
Nothing was done about it for 40 or 50 years while people walked through the open and now you want to punch down on those people who walk through the open door. This is like blaming, baseball players for using steroids when there was no testing. They were walking through the open door. The problem is Major League Baseball wasn't police. Okay, so we created the problem. We did nothing about the result of the blowback from the problem, and now you want to go round up 20 million people. It is immoral, illogical, and stupid on every level.
It is, and also it is partially in all these complicated and unnecessary ways. It's also illegal in certain parts because there's law literally on the books that contradicts other law. It literally contradicts other law. Tom brought up the Reagan amnesty. The Reagan amnesty only targeted a specific age group. It left those folks' kids undocumented, but they could stay. And those kids became the Dreamers, which again was a failed policy that was tried to address by a bunch of different administrations. They didn't handle it the right way. And so those kids who have been in the country their entire lives under a one law that was legal, now they're saying we want to revoke their status and say they're illegal. That they're not illegal.
So they never spoke anything but English.
Exactly. They don't speak Spanish. They've lived here their whole lives, their entire lives. That's not an illegal immigrant. That's a person who was allowed to stay by President Reagan. So now Trump seems to think that executive order is, the law of the land, right? And so that those things can make it happen. If you go back to the amnesty, it was initiated by executive order, and then it was codified by Tip O'Neill. They brokered a deal in Congress, and so Congress agreed with it. It's a stupid law because it only targeted, again, I think it was, we've talked about this before, we looked it up before, I think it's 24 to, they were like 56 years old. So it's like, if you were 57 or older, they were like, you can just stay, we don't care because you're going to die eventually, so just stay. And then if you're under the age of 24, you can stay too, but we just don't want to give you status. But we're going to give you this other status, and then 40 years later, like Tom said, we're going to revoke it because we feel like it.
Because this despicable man who has no core values. He doesn't have he has zero core values. He has just saw an opening to add to his coalition the worst people in the country.
I think he has one core value.
Yeah, himself.
He loves
money.
himself.
There's two. He's certainly getting rich being president. So just stop it with suddenly we have this adherence for the law. Please. The law. How about the president just signing an executive order declaring an organization that doesn't exist a terrorist organization? There's no law to support that. What about the attorney general saying that she's going to prosecute, quote, hate speech? There's no hate speech law.
Yeah. They walked that back real quick. You notice that they had her go on all the shows real quick to walk that back.
And he's beholden to no one, remember, because he's so rich, even though he's lied about that too. But what happened when he floated? He was going to sign an executive order banning trans people from having guns for no reason. The NRA said, "No, you're not," and he said, "Okay, stop talking about it." But he's beholden to no one.
See, so
Anyway.
Sean, I don't think Stephen Miller read the Immigration Act of 1795 because I would agree with that 100%. Go back to that law. That would change everything. That's so funny. He hasn't read it. He thinks it says something it doesn't, and he doesn't get what it would be, but it doesn't even matter. That's so funny. My Melania coin. Oh man,
When do illegals get preference over legal people? On what?
So I probably can guess what he's saying in that spot because I've seen some of his online conversations.
DEI?
No, he's specifically talking about Maura Healey and the motels and the hotels. That's all he's talking about. And which, by the way, was a failed policy. It is. Everybody knew it at the time, including multiple immigration advocacy groups who said this is a bad idea. Like ultra liberal leftist organizations were like, hey, we need to figure out who's here and where they're going, and we shouldn't just be putting people in these places. We need to kind of and this was so the media version is like, everybody on the left just wants every person who's an illegal go into a hotel room and live for free. But that's not what happened at all. A bunch of the contractors that were involved in this basically stole money from the state. It's a disaster for Maura Healey. But we all knew that. Tom and I talked about it at the beginning. It sounded like a bad idea. 3-4 years ago during COVID, it sounded like a bad idea that when they were just sending folks who were unhoused and homeless into wherever, like, we're just going to send you wherever, and we're going to disconnect you from the services that potentially you were attached to. One of the things that Worcester Common Ground went to, if you were watching Zoom-based meetings back then, Worcester Common Ground made that argument back then, which is like, hey, why are we sending people from Worcester? Because remember, all the unhoused aren't from Worcester. We're sending people from Worcester to Cape Cod to live in a motel down there. What's going to happen to their medication and their this and their that? There's a lot of these policies. So saying it was just one way or the other way is just a complete admission that you don't understand what you're talking about, and you need to educate yourself better on these policies. I'm not saying you have to be as smart as Tom, but you need to truly get into.
I mean,
learn.
that's not. It was weird to me. Like, I studied history formally in college. Like, so that's not high level stuff. That doesn't mean that you should know that stuff if you didn't have that experience, or you're not a nerd and you have a real life and you have a job and stuff. This is my job, but the job is learning stuff and trying to explain it to you, right?
Yes.
So I'm doing my job. That doesn't make me whatever. So smart, just doing my job.
You're a dork.
You ain't kidding, Shawnee, but I don't want to go down that road. I don't want to go Koch brothers, and I just don't. You're not wrong, though. He was right.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot of
this spider, and John's here, and he loves to topic jump, and so I don't want to. I want to talk about.
I love the topic jump. Me?
Yes, you.
Just me. I'm the only one who topic jumps.
We're talking about ShotSpotter. You started talking about mass incarceration.
Banana nations. I got you. I got you. We'll take care about that.
Banana republics. That's right. That's where the word comes from.
Yeah, that's right.
From that era. Something John knows and exceedingly too much about. Cable TV franchise contracts.
Yay! Cable TV stuff. Yay!
And there's an interesting order on the agenda that you pointed out to me.
Yes. So one of the orders on the agenda is a request by the new chairperson of the public. Oh, I don't even know what they call that one. The technology, whatever, that one. And Donna Clorio, who volunteered for this role a couple months ago. And anyways, long story short, Mauro Di Pasquale from WCCA TV asked for and got an order, chairman's order, that says that he can ask for legal representation for WCCA to be at the negotiations for the cable franchise agreement. Okay, now this is such a wonky thing, but what Mauro is asking for is illegal. It's illegal. He is a vendor serving, technically, the people of Worcester. He's a vendor, okay? A vendor cannot be involved in negotiations for the income distribution of tax dollars. The 5% money that he wants to, be involved with, that funds WCCA, the school cable department, which it is a big question. It should be funded in the school budget, but that's a whole nother thing. And then the city's cable services, that 5%, which is split between those two things in a formula that's completely made up. They just made up a formula. It's really nonsense. And he wants to have his lawyer be involved in the negotiations between Spectrum and the city. One, a private party cannot be involved with tax income related negotiations. That's just a non-starter right there. He cannot be involved. But the FCC And actually, Mr. Brendan Carr, who made himself very famous over the past couple of weeks, he actually wrote the new modern version of this, which is that any downstream entity, so cable channel, regional, the blah 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 blah, they can never be involved in negotiations ever because it's tax money. That's what it is. It's tax dollars. And so he can't touch that. And so Morrow knows this because when I was the chairman of the cable committee, this came up multiple times and he was rebuked by, at the time, Mike Trainer, the city solicitor, who told him, this is not possible. It's against the law. Not only that, the current lawyer for the city who is doing the negotiations that we hired at the cable committee, he told Morrow the same thing. So Morrow has been told this multiple times. So has Donna Calorio. I've spoken to her. I provided her with this information multiple times now. They have been given this documentation. He cannot be involved with the negotiations. He's an interested party in receiving the tax money, so he can't be involved in negotiations. It's just a fact. So our city solicitor, who has been knocking off citizen petitions left and right, if you go back and look at Tom's incredible article about the increased percentage of citizen petitions that have been denied on spurious legal grounds, has not reviewed this item, which is definitively illegal, but it's on the city council agenda for Tuesday.
And I was just pulling out the rules because they're so stupid. Like, we have this Rule 11 about the propriety of items. Rule 2 says that rights and duties of members says that in part that members of the city council have the right to place items on the city council calendar of agenda items in the form of proposed orders or proposed resolutions. It's weird that it doesn't say anything about ordinances because that power is exclusively delegated to the city council, but they violate the charter every week. But more importantly, then you get down to Rule 11 about the propriety of items, and it says no petition, paper, order, communication, or report. So it can be on that deals with personalities, blah blah blah, and then with the purview rule. This is the purview rule. Nothing there says if it's an order. I guess in theory, based on the strict reading of the rules, that councilors can propose resolutions on absolutely anything they want,
even if it's
illegal.
illegal.
If it's order, it must comply with rule. It must comply with Rule 11 because it says. But they don't do that because they changed the definition of the rules without changing the words on a near constant basis. Just like Rule 30, which is can't be on for 90 days. And we talked about last week how one citizen petition was said you can't be on for 90 days because these other 3 orders contradict it within a time period. So that means those orders contradict each other. So how did they get on the agenda? There's no logic here. They just do what they want.
Yeah, they do. And so, again, if you have a city councilor that you like and you are willing to call and talk to them about these cable orders. The key one, I do appreciate that Donna is moving things from that committee now onto the city council agenda. That's great. I don't want to bog down the fact that we need to not get into a new agreement with the cable company because cable is literally going the way of the dodo in front of us. Just 2 weeks ago, there's legislation now in Arizona to leave the cable franchise agreement law, which, by the way, is an opt-in and opt-out federal law. You don't have to be in it. You can leave as a municipality or as a state. The state of Arizona is advancing legislation to completely leave this because they're moving towards smart city tech and other kind of things. We're going to be left behind by technology movements if we sign a 10-year deal. Cable is obsolete, guys. Everything's moving to streaming. It doesn't matter. They're going to stop it. On top of it, I am a shareholder of Charter Spectrum. I have 1 share. I get it just so I can the reports. And I said this at City Council. I've said it on the show. I've written about it. In Spectrum's 5-year plan, in their 5-year plan that they filed in 2023. So we're in year 2. they're going to sunset cable by 2028.
But yet they want a 10-year agreement.
That's a public statement that they had to file to the FCC. It's a legal statement that they have to file. It's called a forward-looking statement, right? They have to tell the public that they're going to do this. And so, and these are things you can look up. You can go and look it up. It takes a little while on the FCC's website. There's these weird things, but if you go to FCC, the .gov, and you go into the cable companies, you can find these statements. There's tons and tons of them. They have to file regulatory statements literally every month. The city of Worcester shouldn't be in a contract with a company that's 10 years long that's going to sunset a service 3 years from now or 2.5 years from now. It's stupid. It's literally stupid. And
I bet you they won't put in the contract if they have to deliver the service.
So I do have some, informed understanding. I understand that in this contract, Charter Spectrum is arguing for a clause that allows them to walk away if they sunset cable, and that the lawyer that I helped pick is arguing against that clause. So the understanding is that Charter Spectrum won't sign the agreement unless that clause is there, because they want to screw the city in 3 years when they close down the cable division.
Yeah.
So it's
Just
just
deny, for the love of God.
it's so bad, Tom.
Deny renewal and make them comply with the way they've already screwed us. But we got better things to spend lawyers on than screwing our residents out of money.
Right.
Like we're spending more money so we can run it up to $30 million before we pay over.
So let me say this. The argument that Morrow is making about WCCA, I do think WCCA and places like that have an important function, but they're not going to be delivered via cable anymore. They're going to be delivered via streaming or an app on your phone or an app on your tablet or your computer. You're going to get it over the internet one way or the other. The issue is, how should it be funded? Should the city have a part in the funding of WCCA? I think it should. I think it's a good place to have things there. I'm not against that. By the way, the city should kick in some money to This Week in Worcester too. Anyways,
no, they shouldn't.
That'll never happen. That's why I said
no, they shouldn't. I don't want them.
Yeah. So, but WCCA is going to get money from somewhere. The issue is that why isn't Mauro Di Pasquale out trying to get the money? Why does the city manager have to go get the money for him? To me, the station should be the primary generator of the funds, and it should be like just any nonprofit. Now, there is a agency in the city, the Worcester County, the Arts Council, that operates like this already. They get money partially from the city and from the state. They're independent, and they give it to arts organizations in the city. You know who's not a member of the Arts Council still to this day, 40 years in? Mauro Di Pasquale and WCCA. So you guys should tell Mauro, if you know Mauro, he should join, and he should do what every other arts agency in the city has to do, which is go and work together in groups and try to get the dribs and drabs that come to art. It just is the way it is.
It was something from Fred. Oh yeah. So the part there's what do they call on the bill? The municipal fee? Is it just a municipal fee?
It's the cable franchise fee,
which is 5%, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. So in short, the 5% surcharge on your bill, it gets reverted to the city and therefore is a tax. They're just collecting it there through the billing process. So that's why all of this does, start to run up against tax law in some areas.
So now it doesn't. Remember, Spectrum holds the money for up to a year. And by the way, in the entirety of the contract, they have never delivered the money on time once. Not once. Love that. And yet they charge late fees. But anyways, it's just a really cool factoid about this whole thing. The money's delivered to the city usually in October of the year. So, hopefully maybe this year we'll get it on time. And then the city takes that money and sends it to the various agencies, but it stays in the general fund until it's distributed. And it's only distributed, I think, 3 times in each 10-year period. Right now, because we're in the year-over-year extensions, it has to be distributed every year, which I actually think probably works better for the city than trying to calculate the 6-year aggregate and blah, 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 and all that other stuff. Probably saves the what's his name? Timothy McGurk, the accountant for the city, probably saves him a significant amount of time.
Yeah. So yeah, there's that. So ShotSpotter and cable contract is on the agenda. I don't expect anything to happen because they don't do stuff.
Did you guys enjoy this riveting conversation that Tom and I have had about wonky stuff tonight? Have you guys enjoyed it?
It is kind of a wonky show for sure.
Been getting into it? Yeah, guys.
I wanted to talk briefly, since we're getting a little time, talk about the Pats rolled on the worst team probably in the league today.
Yeah, they went nuts.
They put up some points and looked like a real football team.
Yeah, it did. They did. I listened to the games because I'm listening to it because Tom Marino pays me big bucks to write sports articles. Huge money. That's where all the money comes from. And so I listened to it on the radio because I'm an old grumbly fan. And it was a brutal game. Like basically 12 minutes into the first quarter was over. The game was over right away, pretty rapidly. In the second quarter, they just opened it up at another level. So Carolina did not have a chance.
No, Carolina, I don't think has a chance to get it. They might. I mean, it's a long way to go, but I mean, they'll probably get lucky. But they're chasing that Detroit Lions record of not winning because they're bad. And then just before the show, John was like, "Hey, I'm going to do a Bruins season preview," and then we started talking, and I don't know. I'm a little skeptical because you don't seem to know anything about hockey.
Well, so you said they're going to suck. So let's start.
They're terrible.
So I don't think they will because they play in the division they play in, and Marco Sturm is going to run a neutral zone trap. So they're going to be abjectly boring, but they're probably going to win a ton of games because people don't like to play against neutral zone trap teams. If you remember the worst version of this, it was the New Jersey Devils with Martin Brodeur, which was the most boring multiple-time champion in the history of sports ever. Still worst. Elias Lindstrom was pretty cool. He was pretty cool. But anyways, neutral zone trap basically means they keep the puck in the middle of the ice for a really, really, really long time, and then constantly cycle dump-ins.
Yeah, dump-ins. I mean, and that's fine because you go in and you hit somebody in the mouth and you get the puck. But the neutral zone trap is you don't hit anybody in the mouth on the forecheck, and it makes it boring because the forechecking is the game.
Forechecking is the game. You're 100% right. 100%.
I mean, they're going to be bad, but you know what they should be? You don't lose Zdeno Chara, Hall of Fame player, Patrice Bergeron, Hall of Fame player, David Krejci, really good player, in a span of would have been MVP of the Stanley Cup team if it weren't for Tim Thomas. He was definitely the best skater on the team during that run. And at least points-wise, production-wise. You don't lose those guys in the span of 4 years and just roll. You just don't.
No, I agree with that. I also would say that they haven't done a great job of restocking with this particular general manager. Although that's not new because general managers for the Bruins haven't done a good job with that in a long time anyways. But it is what it is. He is good at trades. I will give Sweeney credit. He has won a lot of his trades. So I'll give him not everyone, but he's won a ton of trades. He's brought back, hockey trades are because there's a hard cap in hockey. It's the only sport with a really truly hard cap. Hockey trades mean you have to actually give something up to get something. It just is the way it is. And then the money has to match. So usually the players are kind of slotted in. And so the player usually does. And in hockey, a new place to play often does lead to a player who wasn't doing as well doing better. It just is. It is the way it is. It has been that way for a really, really long time.
So they won't be as bad as they were last year because you can assume that McAvoy's not going to die. The whole defense isn't going to die again. I mean, the whole defense died last year. Almost, it had serious health problems at one point. It was just injured. But it's going to come down to if they're a Friends playoff team, which I think might even be a stretch. Because they're going to have very little scoring. But is the goaltender. If the goaltender's as bad as he was last year, they're in deep trouble because he was bad. Couldn't stop beach ball. I mean, again, the whole defense died. That doesn't help. When you got guys hanging out on the post, bare ass, the other teams just score goals. But yeah, they're not going to be very good. They're certainly not going to score any goals.
That's why he's already talked about doing the trap. The old version of the neutral zone trap where you could stand like right above the circle. Sean, yes, they got rid of that. So you can't have a forward on there. You do, like the way that the Devils the Devils were awesome. They won all the time, but the puck never went past the blue line. So Brodeur was a great goalie. So, but he was, he admitted it. He faced the least shots probably of any premier goalie his whole career. So he didn't
have all 5 guys at center ice and back, and you have to navigate all that because they didn't want to go in and hit anybody.
And then all their goals they scored during changes. They would hold the puck, and then they would change when the change. Then they'd send one dude, and that was it. 1-0.
And Brodeur was excellent with the stick, and then you could just feed the puck feed the puck into the crowd.
He was
under pressure.
Yeah, he was a great passer, great passing goalie. So I'll give him credit for that.
So they're gonna be bad. We're worth watching because they still got Pasta, and it is just hockey inertia for me when he just posts up at the dot and there's nothing anybody can do about it. Like there's nothing. He just puts it under the arm in the same spot every time at a bajillion miles an hour on the one timer, and it's inertia. It's hockey inertia.
Goalies can't stop it. No one can stop that shot. No one can stop that shot.
No, because you can't move and keep your arm. It's physically impossible where he puts the puck.
In the tradition of 1,000 left wings and right wings and before him that sit in that dot that have that shot, no one can stop it. It is what it is. That's the best shot in hockey. It always has been.
But he's also elite from that spot. Elite. Alex Ovechkin is the greatest goal scorer of all time. He scored plenty of goals from that spot. Plenty.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, exactly. I would say almost all of them probably came from that, just hanging out on the dot, just hanging out.
That's what you try to get to,
Yeah.
That's
that's what power plays. Power play teams are about. Oh, real quick, the Red Sox made the playoffs and they're playing at the Yankees. So that's another preview that'll be up hopefully tomorrow. I'll get it ready. That starts on Tuesday. They have a 3-game series, 3 days in a row. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, all in New York because they got the second wild card, so they don't get a home game. But if they win that, then they would move on to the division series. So I would say that I would just my one thought about the Red Sox is that making the playoffs is a win for them. This team wasn't expected really to do this, and they made it. They still kind of sucked halfway through the year, and they really did. But they, if you like baseball at all, it'll be cool. They have a great pitcher in Garrett Crochet, so there's a chance that he gives them a chance. So that's really it. If they don't win Game 1, though, it's probably not happening.
They've pulled off ridiculous things before. I can't do 3 hours of baseball. I can't. But there's one guy I care about on the Red Sox, and that is Aroldis Chapman. Because anybody gets to 103 is my guy.
Yeah, he's cool. He's cool guy. This year they set a record actually since 1979 for the shortest game. So they went under 240 for the first time. So the new rules have definitely sped the game up. I know that the goal is to get down to 210. I don't know how, but they're adding robot umpires next year, so hopefully we'll see how that goes.
For reviews only, though, right?
Strikes. Yeah.
And that's why hockey is the greatest sport in the world because the games are almost 2 hours on the dot.
Yep.
And if it goes more than that, it's because it's a dumpster fire has broken out and it's been a riot, and it's been you won't care how long it's been because it's been insane as hell because everybody's fighting.
It's a great game. Yeah.
It's
the most exciting sport in person by far.
Yeah. Greatest team sport in the world.
All right.
It is time for John's favorite part of the show.
This is, then they wonder why they continuously
hold on 1 second on your speech. I just want to acknowledge, I just saw it, that Johnny's maybe apparently an old guy like us because he mentioned PJ Axelson, and that's going back away.
Oh yeah, PJ Axelson all day long. You gotta love you some PJ Axelson. Skinny dude, but he was great.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt. On to John's favorite part of the show.
Okay. Yes. By the way, I just want to point out, Tom continues to dealing misinformation. And so that's why we can't get ahead here at This Week in Worcester. We can't get more clicks because he keeps telling people that this is my favorite part of the show only, but it is not my favorite part of the show. It's everybody's favorite part, and that is Tom's favorite things, where I ask a question. And so, Tom, last week we asked a question from a viewer, which was about your favorite city councilor of all time, and I was inundated with suggestions. I'm getting emails, I'm getting text messages.
I love
People
it.
are hitting me up on Messenger. Ask Tom this, ask Tom that, ask Tom this. Okay, so which I find hilarious.
It's all things that I know that coming from you is going to be all things that irritate me.
All right, so it's
has to be.
Absolutely. So this one, I have to ask this because you got to talk about ShotSpotter a little bit tonight. And of course, I know you love public safety stuff. And so this one is, and this is qualified now. So since 1990, who is your favorite chief of police in the city of Worcester?
Since 1990, I mean, I wasn't really like tied in. I'm from the burbs. I grew up in the burbs, so I wasn't really tied in necessarily until late 90s, right? Until I moved in, I think, 99. Till I moved to the city. So I mean, I'm gonna have to. I mean, so that leaves three options really, and that's easy. Paul Saucier. That's real easy. Paul Saucier. I mean, that's a no-brainer. Because the two guys before him, god damn.
It's so good. It's so good. I would agree with that because the options that exist in the past, not the best. One of them. So, anyways, just.
I mean, it seems like Gardella is well remembered, but I don't have any insight if that is accurate enough.
Yeah, I would say Gardella was all right. Gardella was very visible, and so was very like accessible. When I was younger, so you could see him like walking around and stuff. So it was a little bit different. The policing was different.
That's different than getting on Twitter and yelling at judges. So.
No, so yeah, Gardella he was just more. He was very much in the, the old Worcester politician, the Joe Petty type. He was at every event, and I don't know how much policing got done, but he was at every event, and so it is what it is. And so on Reddit, which of course Reddit is like the worst place on earth ever to go anywhere to talk about anything.
Oh my god! I don't know why you keep saying that. Like Facebook is so much trashier than Reddit.
It is. On Reddit, though, it really like goes into like the deep dive. But anyway, someone on Reddit said to me the other like last week, basically that you and I should learn how city government works, and we should go take city councilors out for drinks, and that would be how we would get things done, right? And specifically, we're talking about Franny McGrath. But anyways, Gardella used to do that all the time. If you wanted to talk to him, you could just go meet him somewhere and have a drink, and you could negotiate a lot.
We should learn how city council. Wow.
Yeah, so there's a lot of that. Reddit is a weird. Reddit is Facebook without the memes, and so it's just angry sometimes there.
Yeah, I mean, but politics by meme is the lowest common denominator. So I dig it that there's no memes.
I do like that we have a presence there now. I do see. I mean, we've been posting a lot of the stories there, so we've been getting a lot of interactions with people over there too. Nobody interacts on Blue Sky at all. X, Twitter, whatever that thing is. There's like a couple. But almost all of our stuff is either Facebook, YouTube, or Reddit now, so that's cool. Yeah,
I mean, but when stuff happens, even on Twitter, which is like become, of course, a cesspool, and on Blue Sky, when people do engage, it's usually like it's not usually that's going too far, but like it's more substantive than we get more interaction on Facebook, but it's usually just like people crapping on their keyboard.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I don't know if anybody noticed, but I got a great post. Someone wrote a post in Worcester Political Dialogue that they don't like me, and so I happily accept that they don't like me.
It was interesting. It was interesting positioning, though. It was an interesting way to approach what he was worried about. Yeah, no, I mean, I don't think it was offensive. It was honest.
No, I thought it was funny. I got a kick out of it. It made me laugh out loud, and I'm fine with that. I do I do think the indication though is that if you're working in the same direction, so I don't know that I am working in any particular direction other than I think people should be treated fairly, and that people should, everybody should have a voice. And so, how do you get to there? And clearly in our country, people are not treated fairly, and everybody doesn't have a voice. I mean, that's where we're at.
I mean, we can't even petition your government in Worcester, so.
That's true. That's true. Now I know that in other places, people would say that they have blah 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 blah. We could get this like you could go down the wood hole, but I feel like, yeah, you can guess pretty easily, Sean. Just go look at what's the political dialogue. It's like 5, 6 posts down. I just don't feel like naming them. I just don't feel like it. I don't want to necessarily give any extra clicks. I want all the clicks to come to This Week in Worcester. Give me all those extra clicks. You better be sharing this broadcast too, people, on your thing, and write in something.
He says
how wonderful this show is and how Tom's handsome. Like, I want all that stuff. Give me that.
Tom never get excited. Never yell.
Tom never.
Tom's very calm. Never yells.
By the way, my health. This is what I'm reduced to now. Look at this. That's the only soda I'm allowed.
Oh, that can't be good. I mean, Dr. Pepper's gross anyway, but with zero sugar, it's gonna be horrible.
Oh my goodness! You're probably a fascist. That's probably what that immediately makes.
I mean, everybody's a fascist today.
Everybody's a fascist.
Everybody.
Everybody's a.
And if you're anti-fascism, you're a terrorist now. So since the president.
That's the new insult of the year. Did you just
everybody's a fascist?
As soon as you throw that in
fascism is terrorism.
Everybody.
Yeah, Maria, you're a Cowboys fan, but you may have said something right.
Oh, how the Cowboys doing right now, Maria? How you having a good time over there?
How do you become a Cowboys fan? You grew up here. What's wrong with you?
I think they're playing the Packers tonight, right? The Packers are good. I don't know.
All right, kids. Well, I suppose that's it.
4chan? Yes. Let's go. The 4chan, baby.
Yeah.
Cesspool of all cesspools.
Yeah, the absolute cesspool of the internet.
But 4chan has some interesting, like some really cool conspiracy theories that are out of nothing. I don't know.
Johnny's going off on forums. I love it.
Opie and Anthony. Remember when they got fired and oh man.
The knockout show? They hate each other now. They hate each other now. That show was only good when worth listening to when Patrice O'Neill, comedy god, was on it, and it was hysterical.
He was great. Opie and Anthony, just schlock. It was a big show for a long time. Radio is changing dramatically, man. It really is.
Yeah.
They can't track anything anymore. Everything's shifting to streaming. So same thing with radio. By the way, radio, you'll still get it in your car, but it's not getting to you the way that it used to get to you. It just isn't. It's a completely different model.
I can't remember when Andrew Dice Clay called them something once. It was like, and so there's nobody, an asshole face wants me to come on all the time, or something like that. It was so funny. It wasn't nobody though. It was definitely asshole face, but it was I forget what he said.
I just saw a movie where Andrew Dice Clay was in it. I just saw a movie. I forget what it was.
Yeah, he should have never been in movies. But I mean, it was probably 10 years or 5 or 10 years ago he did his last special, but it wasn't bad. And he hadn't done a special in 20 years or something.
Well, because Patrice used to rag on him so much. It was so good. Patrice just destroyed him. It was a one-on-one roast every single morning for 4 hours. It was just
but yeah, Patrice. And then they gave me. He did his own show a few times on that when they were on set. Oh God, it was the best.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's old, man. That's what we're talking. I mean, when they were on Oba Banaka going on the radio, that's like they got fired in like 2004 or something.
I think our target audience is, probably understanding what we're saying. I don't know that we're getting a lot of kids.
Sure.
I don't think there's any. How many 22-year-olds in the chat?
Yeah,
we're not hitting that demographic with our show, Tommy.
No, they're out doing something.
That's right. That's right.
They're not rightfully ignoring local government because it's idiotic.
We got Maria here for some flavor, and Zach, just a little bit of just a little spice in the chat. You know what I mean? Just a little bit. That's it. We add a little bit, those little sofritos, some sazon, and there we go. We have the This Week in Worcester podcast. That's how we do it.
Yeah, I agree. Anthony's from that Opie and Anthony scumbag, but I listened to it every afternoon. Even though I hated them both. I had a commute at the time. When they got fired, actually, I had a commute at the time, so I heard all that go down and all the fallout. I had to look at how long commute at the time. And I listened to it every day, even though I hated them both. So whatever that says about me.
Yeah.
They're both terribly unlikable.
The first, I would say, like the first 5 years of Felger and Mass, I used to on the sports radio. I listened to them every day, and I hated them with a deep and abiding passion. And then,
Felger's great. Felger's great because he doesn't care. He will say anything to irritate the people, like irritate listeners. And they'll all call them, dump on him, and he just laughs the whole time. Like, I love it. He's such a shit stirrer.
But when what's his name? When Beetle left, I like Jim Murray, but I think that it's too many people. Now it's like Jim Murray should have his own show. Is what I'm saying. Is that they have 3 guys that are all show leads now, and the dynamic. It's the same kind of. It's just it's time to move on. You know, even Maddie in the Morning is gone off of Kiss 108. If everybody remember Maddie in the Morning, the most syrupy of all radio hosts in the history of the universe.
Listen.
Except for David Allen Boucher on Magic 106.7.
Mike Felger deserves a lot of credit. When they first came on the air on that show, the Bruins were terrible. Yes. Nobody cared. Nobody was going to the games, and he would talk hockey every day during the season when nobody cared.
I agree. Everybody gives Glenn Ordway the credit for the sports thing, but when Glenn Ordway, when the WEI was going big, that was the only. It was on AM, if people remember. It wasn't necessarily dominant in the way that 98.5 was. And Felger built a coalition of people to talk about all 4 teams, and because it was only Celtics and Red Sox on WEI for years. And people forget in the 90s how dominant the Red Sox were as a storyline.
Oh, yeah.
Whenever the manager overslept, it was this international story. And so I do give Felger credit for that. I just at this point I know their routine, so it's the same routine, you know what I mean? And Zolak and Bertrand, I can't listen. It's unlistenable for
it's
me.
Not that bad, but yeah, it's not great. But no, I'm not in the car much at that time, but and Maz is hysterical with that voice. Yeah, no, the Red Sox then, you know what really turned me on baseball was the Hall of Fame nonsense. Like, you're not going to like Barry Bonds to the Hall of Fame. You're going to like Manny Ramirez, like the best right-handed hitter of his generation, to the Hall of Fame because there's an anonymous report that wasn't supposed to come out that said he tested positive. Get out of here with that crap.
The steroids thing is the biggest hypocrisy of all. Every single one of them was on steroids. They were all on the juice, except for Pedro and maybe Jeter. But other than that, it was almost every single player. So they were playing an affair. Everybody had it. They were all doing it. If you go back and watch the, I remember the Astros team that's like Jeff Bagwell, Craig Biggio hitting 40 bombs. You know how Craig Biggio is 5'6", and he was hitting 40 bombs. What do you think they were all doing, dude? What do you think they were doing? They were all on the juice together. It was great. Sammy Sosa, come on, we knew it. We didn't care because they were hitting bombs left and right. But Greg Maddux and Tom Glavine and Pedro Martinez and all these great pitchers were still able to do things. That's why I think it worked because you had great pitching. Now you don't have any great pitching. Everybody throws 100 and they don't know they can't paint the corners or anything like that. So it's either a home run.
True.
Oh, now the pitching is there's like 10 good pitchers. It's so bad how it used to be. It used to be much better. Much better. And the batting average, they don't try to hit. They don't try to hit anymore. Actually, this year there's a record. It's the first time in Major League Baseball's history only one full-time player has hit 315 or better. As Aaron Judge hit 330. The next guy is like, like 308 or something, but there's only like a handful of players that hit 300 now. It's unbelievable how bad they're hitting.
Eating the game up. That's what's doing it.
All the guys in the 30s were absolutely. They were all popping speed. Absolutely, 100%. 100%.
All right. Enough of this. Thanks everybody for. There's a knuckleballer out there. Who is it? He's nasty too. He's from Pittsburgh, maybe. He just came up last year. He's nasty, and his knuckleball. Dude, the knuckleball. Like, oh, I can't remember the name of this channel. The channel on YouTube that's like it's like a really high end pitching camp type of thing, right? Like some sports institute or whatever, and they get like all these kids from college or all these kids in the younger guys in the minors. And they have had some kids on there throw a knuckleball. And I mean, they get the camera angled right, it's right over his shoulder and all that. And it's just like, how could you ever hit it? It doesn't do anything that makes sense.
Tim Wakefield, man. Oh, love that guy. That guy was the best. He was the best.
They had a kid on there, I think it was in college somewhere, who, I mean, his knuckleball was like, oh my God. And he could throw 95.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I remember this. Greg Maddox gave an interview one time that if Tim Wakefield could throw 86, if he had a fastball that was 86, he would have been the best pitcher in the history of the world. And I agree because he threw he had like a 78 mile per hour fastball, but when
he just get it over.
He couldn't really get it over. But whenever he threw it straight after he threw a knuckleball, everybody missed. It was always a swinging strike.
Yeah, it was a changeup. It was.
Yeah, except for Gary Sheffield, who just sat on everything. Gary Sheffield destroyed Wakefield. Oh, he's the worst. Bombs.
There's, I mean, not in the majors. What's it? The guy from the Mets retired, right? The knuckleballer. I think there's somebody in Pittsburgh that throws one. There's not a lot of guys in the majors anymore, but it seems like there's a lot of guys out there still throwing it.
Yeah, Wake got better when he was. I liked Wake as he was older. I know he had the big rookie run, but when he got better, because he was in innings, he just ate the innings, man. He just really was consistent. I mean,
he didn't throw it hard. There was no wear on his arm.
Yeah, and the year that they won the first World Series, though, and everybody had blamed him for the year before, which was stupid because he was, it doesn't matter. But anyways, but the 2004 team, he threw like 260 innings that year. He was just an absolute monster that kept that. So they had only 3 bullpen guys that were any good. If people remember, he threw 2 innings every night.
Yeah, he also gave up a start in that playoffs to go in relief the day where they were getting killed.
It was like 4 or 5 innings in a row in that game. They lost the third game 3, right? Then he just took it like a champ.
I think he was supposed to start game 4 and said volunteered to go in because he could eat innings.
Yeah, Mike Messina was a great pitcher.
But then
the Baltimore one.
Don't get me wrong, knuckle cards are effective, but it's not a knuckle. It's a curveball. If you see the spin on it, you know what it's going to do. It's going to go down in the way if you're right-handed.
Ortiz,
knuckleball, it's like
avoid him. Ortiz used to eat Messina alive.
Yeah,
just to try.
Yeah, but I mean, or this channel I'm talking about. I'll find it for next time. But they'll do they have the catcher wearing a camera, and so they're showing this thing, and I mean, the thing's literally doing this.
Yeah, it does.
How do you can't hit that? That's unfair. That's it.
No, when it was hot in the summer and Wakefield was dealing, there was no touching that dude. The only thing.
If it was humid for some reason, the ball. I think when it was humid, the ball would move more. Maybe no, that can't be because the air is heavier. But there was weather conditions where his ball would move a lot more.
Wow. Apparently, apparently I'm a very prolific dad.
Wow, she broke up with both of us, and now you're a dad, and I'm like, what am I, Miss Meat over here?
When did the paternity come back? I didn't, man. I'm just man, damn it. Man, I gotta start working more.
All right, for the love of time, that's enough. We're done. We're 6 minutes to go before our mandatory cutoff. Everybody have a great week. We'll be back here on Sunday, 8:30, to try and screw it up less next week. Everybody be well.
Come Tuesday. Come to the City Council.